Most advertisers waste thousands of dollars on Facebook ads because they don't actually know which ads are driving the results. So in this video, I'll show you how to break that cycle and show you exactly which ads you should be cutting, and also how to allocate more spend to your winning ads. Hey everyone, it's Axel here, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how to optimize a Facebook ad account for better performance. Specifically for this video, we'll be looking at the ads themselves. So that means how to analyze results, knowing which ads you should spend more on, and which ads you should be cutting. So right now, I'm in a lead gen account that has spent about $42,000 in the past 60 days. And as you can see, there's a couple different campaigns, but I do have one main acquisition campaign right here, which is the driver with about 3/4 of my spend. So for this video, I'm going to be looking at this campaign specifically. The first thing I want to do is click on this campaign, click on my ads, and the next thing I want to do is sort them by amount spent. And the way I like to think about this is there's 4 types of ads. You have high spend, low CPA, high spend, high CPA, low spend, high CPA, low spend, low CPA. We'll start with the first one, which is the best, which is high spend, low CPA. These are essentially your winning ads. So these ads are driving a lot of results in an efficient way at a high amount of spend, and Facebook recognizes them as high performers. There's one rule you should always apply with these ads, and that's to never turn them off. Under any circumstance, as long as these ads continue to do well, you should never pause them. Instead, you should be finding ways to get Facebook to spend even more on them. And so there's 2 different ways to do that. The first way being, if you're on an ABO, switch to a CBO straight away. Nowadays, ABO doesn't work as well as CBO in my opinion. CBO is the best way in order to scale your ads efficiently. And that's because under an ABO, what you're doing is 2 different things. Number one, you're actually forcing minimum spends on ads that do not work. And more importantly, you're actually preventing your winning ads from spending a higher amount. I highly suggest that you actually transition to a CBO if you're currently still using an ABO, and that's just going to allow Facebook to spend more on your winning ads and less on your ads that you should not be running in the first place. The second thing you should be doing with these types of ads, so let's say an ad like this, which is spending a very high amount and a very low CPA, is you should be duplicating these in different ways in order to get Facebook to spend more on them. So that could mean a few different things. You could duplicate them into interest-based campaigns, retargeting campaigns, lookalike campaigns, or just a scaling campaign, which has just your winning ads on a broad audience, and you're just forcing Facebook to spend even more on that ad. There's multiple different ways to do this, but the end goal should be to get Facebook to spend more on these ads. There's also one thing you should absolutely never do is if you duplicate these ads, so let's say I duplicate this ad right here, never pause the original ad. It's totally okay to have duplicates of the same ad in multiple parts of the account as long as they're still getting an efficient result. So no matter what you do, if I were to duplicate this ad into an interest-based campaign, for example, I would keep this ad on. And that's because it's working at a very high spend and a very low cost per result. So I want to keep that going and not pause it. So next up is high spend and an average CPA, and this is usually your highest spending ad in the account. So right here, you can see that this ad right here has about my average CPA and has spent about 20% of the total budget in the last 60 days. You'll also notice that your top spending ad is quite often not the most efficient ad per dollar spent. So right here, I can see that this ad right here, that's just below it, spent a pretty large amount, but achieved a more efficient result per dollar spent because it has a lower CPA. So some people might think, I'm gonna pause this top spending ad up here because I have some more efficient ads such as this one right here, this one right here, and this one right here. And I want to push more spend into those ads to make my overall CPA go down. And this is probably the biggest mistake you can make in a Facebook ad account. That's because an ad like this is actually called your supportive ad, and it's a type of ad that can drive a super high amount of spend while getting an acceptable CPA. And the point is, this is usually your main prospecting ad. If you look at the frequencies in your account, you'll often notice that this ad is being shown to the most people the fewest amount of times, and then Facebook then starts to show ads like these with lower CPAs to a smaller pool of people, but more times. And what's happening here is it often starts by showing this ad up here, which is your main prospecting ad, which will convert sometimes, but maybe not necessarily as efficiently. But then it'll also back it up by showing these ads down here as a second and third time, which will often convert more efficiently. And so what happens here is you have a case where this ad up here is quite often your main prospecting ad. And so if you shut it off, the whole thing crumbles because you're essentially telling Facebook at that point, I don't like my main prospecting ad that is spending 20% of my account, find me a new one. And that usually makes everything fall apart. So the type of optimization for this type of ad up here is very simple, and that's just do nothing. Just leave it running. It's worth noting, however, that sometimes you'll see ads with a high spend and a high CPA. The first thing you should be doing on an ad like that is checking the CTR. If the CTR is really high on that ad, you should pause that ad. And that's because a high CTR is not always a good thing. A high CTR is only a good thing if the conversion rate on the back end holds up. If your CPA is super high and your CTR is super high, then all that ad is doing is driving a ton of bad quality traffic into your website, and that is exactly the type of ad that you should pause. And so what will happen sometimes is Facebook will locate an ad like this, see that the engagement is super high, and just start driving a ton of spend into that ad, even though it's not converting on the back end. So if you see an ad that has a very high amount of spend and a high CPA, you should check the CTR, and if the CTR is significantly above your average CTR, you should pause that ad and quit the ad from driving a bunch of bad quality traffic into your website. So that's the first two types of ads out of the way. Now, before we move on, if you like this video so far, feel free to give me a like and a subscribe below. That way you're updated on all my future videos to come. Okay, let's talk about the next type of ad now, which is low spend and low CPA. These ads can actually be tricky to deal with because they're often either ads that got lucky or ads that Facebook is choosing to spend less money on because Facebook knows that they can only achieve an efficient result with a low amount of spend. As an example, on this account right here, here's an ad like that. This ad was able to get a CPA of $79, spending about 5 times less than some of my top performing ads. So the optimization here is actually quite simple. Most of the time, you should let these ads run, but keep an eye on them. If the performance stops to drop, you can pause them then, and if they keep performing well at a low amount of spend, then just keep them on. However, there are two things that you should absolutely not do with these types of ads. The first thing is don't force extra spend into them. Facebook is choosing not to spend too much on these ads, so don't go and duplicate this ad into more campaigns and try to force more spend into them. All you're doing at that point is just forcing spend into an ad that Facebook is deliberately choosing to not put too much spend into, and the cost per result is probably just going to go up a lot if you do that. The second thing you should absolutely not do is pause higher spending ads that are getting a less efficient result. So for example, right here, some people might look at this and think, okay, this ad got a 79 CPA and it spent $1,000. I'm going to pause this ad up here, which got a CPA of $94, so about $14 more, and spend $6,000 more, with the idea that if I pause this ad, more money is going to be spent into this ad, making the whole account efficient. And this goes back to my previous point in the video. That's just going to make your whole account fall apart. So definitely don't ever do that. Just keep these ads running, but keep an eye on them. And then finally, you have the final type of ad, which is low spend and a high CPA. So an ad like this, for example, which only spent $463 and got a CPA of $463. And the optimization here is simple as well. You pause these ads. So notice how I pause this ad. This is a type of ad that cannot do well even at a low amount of spend. It's not worth running in your account, and you're better off using that budget into these ads up here, which are spending a lot more money and getting a much more efficient CPA. So hopefully this video has given you some better insight on how ads actually work within a Facebook ads account and what to do with certain ads. So whether you should turn them off, allocate more spend to them, or just keep them running. If you have any questions about anything I mentioned in this video, feel free to drop them in the comments and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. And if you'd like someone to manage your Facebook ads for you, feel free to use my link in the description below to book a call. That way we can have a chat. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you on the next one.